In Hebron, like many of the occupied territories, Palestinians do not have control over their own roads, which can be blocked by the Israeli army. In the Arab village of Kafr Kadom, there's an Israeli settlement right in the middle of the road. But the villagers in Kafr Kadom, led by Murad Shtewi, are fighting back.
This is the original road, right?
Yes, our original road.
Okay. Can you get close to the gate?
No. Maybe you can.
Yeah.
There on the top of the mountain, they have a very tall tower. We have a camera. They can watch everything, every movement happened here in this area.
So they're seeing us now?
Yes, of course. And they are aggressive from the last right parties in Israel. They are religious, yes, these settlements, and they have no fence, they have no wall, because they consider Kafr Kadum and all the Palestinian lands from their borders.
Every Friday, the inhabitants of Kafr Kadom burn a few tires to smoke out their Israeli neighbors. The settlement across their road is called Kadumim. It's in the hands of religious radicals.
Settlement.
It was founded by a woman known as the matriarch of the young ultra-religious settlers, Daniela Weiss.
Okay.
You continue with your
Okay. Okay, so now we can start the interview.
Yes. They say the Jewish neighborhood blocks the road. You can go now, in 1 minute, and see the lie. You will see it, and you will not tell it to the world.
You see, what will I see?
You'll see that
the
no.
road is open.
Of course.
It's
And
not
you will
blocked.
not. Of course not. We never built on a road.
From what I understood, it's not that the road is blocked, it's that they cannot use it or something like that.
Because they didn't want to use it. And I was
The
the mayor.
Palestinian?
Of course.
The crew took her advice and went to check out the infamous road. They arrived from the north so as to approach the Palestinian village on the other side of the Israeli settlement.
We need to go back to the road. We come from here. Why can't we go in? Look, Israeli government press card. Okay. It's not normal.
Clearly, it's not straightforward getting across this road, even for non-Palestinians. So the crew went around the settlement to reach the other stretch of road, where the villagers were getting ready for a confrontation. They'd built flimsy obstacles easily disposed of by the Israeli army bulldozers. The Palestinians responded with futile sticks and stones.
We didn't have the ability to beat the Israeli army, and we didn't have the weapons which could face the weapons which is owned by the Israeli army. We only have our will.
The Israeli army didn't use all of its firepower
Take care, just take care.
or fire real bullets. The only real danger came from the tear gas canisters themselves, painful in a direct hit.
Did you see this tear gas canister? It shot directly. It shot directly. Now it's empty. طلع شوي براحتك شوي.
A Chinese journalist got hit in the knee.
It's shot in his knee directly. The Palestinian people, they didn't deny the right of anybody to live in peace in his state. On the other side, it is the right of us to live happy and in peace without suffering on our land.
Do you have hopes that one day in this Fairy land, Jews and Arabs be living together on an equal base.
The Arabs cannot live here on equal base with Jews because here it's going to be the land where the sovereignty will be only Jewish. It's not going to be Jewish Arab. It's going to be only Jewish. So equality it cannot be.
Daniela Weiss does not represent the majority of Israeli public opinion. Far from it. Most moderate Israelis say they're ready to negotiate for peace. Even within some religious settlements, Paul Moreira found people like that.
I see the reality is that the terror and the terrorists are a small fraction of the population, and overwhelming the Arabs and Palestinians are people that would, I know from personal experience, if your car breaks down, they would come and help you out. And if I felt I was surrounded by millions of murderers, I really wouldn't want to live here.
So do you think there's space for living together in this land?
The Bible talks about other nations living in the land of Israel. There's a phrase, loving the sojourner as yourself, and even the Bible reminds us that you too were outsiders in the land of Egypt, taking our painful experience as slaves in Egypt and trying to, from that, to learn how to relate to other people out, within Israel.
In fact, Rabbi Yaakov thinks rather like the rest of the world. And the world is becoming increasingly impatient with progress on this major issue.
Aujourd'hui, nous devons tout faire pour faciliter la reconnaissance de l'État palestinien.
Britain is a strong supporter of the two-state solution. We don't believe that it's right to have this illegal settlement activity.
Israelis must recognize that continued settlement activity is counterproductive to the cause of peace, and that an independent Palestine must be viable with real borders that have to be drawn.
Even Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, has spoken on the subject at the United Nations.
We recognize that a Palestinian state must be big enough to be viable, to be independent, to be prosperous.
Netanyahu is in power in Israel, so what stops him from solving this massive, ongoing problem? In 2000, an amateur video caught Netanyahu's real thoughts when it captured a moment he didn't think was being filmed. Netanyahu picked up on an ambiguity in the text of the Oslo Accords, under which Israel could define the limits of the security zones around the settlements. The impact of Netanyahu's strategy can clearly be seen on a map. This interpretation of the Oslo Accords has given Israel control over the majority of the Palestinian territories, and the number of settlements has since multiplied 3 times over. Every year, they cost the Israeli state $450 million. Traveling around the West Bank, the producer noticed that the settlements are routinely built on hilltops. This is no accident. He discovered an internal document issued by the political movement of the settlements, showing clearly that the occupation of hilltops is part of a concerted military strategy. And this plan has direct consequences for Palestinians. When President Obama came to Israel in 2013, the settlers handed him their strategy. It was no longer a secret.
Hello, we have a meeting with Mr. Dayan.
Danny Dayan is the world ambassador for the settlement movement Yesha. What used to be a fringe movement has now become a major political force with 3 ministers in government.
Tell me why it's important for settlers to be on the hills.
Well, you know, every morning when I wake up, I have a privilege to remind myself why I left the comfortable life in Tel Aviv. Is either me and my family here on this hill, or a Palestinian Islamic fundamentalist regime that will use these very hills as a launching pad to destroy Israel.
It's like a war. It's like maintaining a war situation against, you say, radical Palestinians, but the Palestinians on the ground feel as against themselves.
No, it's not that. We have a conflict. We have a conflict that right now, unfortunately, very unfortunately, does not have a political solution. We didn't advance even 1 centimeter.
What does the War of the Hilltops really look like? The crew took the road back to the east of the Palestinian territories. Just 20 kilometers away, they stopped in the Arab village of Burin. The road is Israeli territory. The surrounding hills are occupied by 3 settlements. They're also Israeli territory. Around the Arab village, just a few hundred meters of Palestinian Authority remains, a battle zone every day of the week. Abu Mursi is the last shepherd in the village, and he's probably the most stubborn Palestinian this side of the River Jordan. He wants to show how grazing means trouble. Once Abu Mursi locates his sheep, he takes them to graze and prepares for battle.
كل يوم يجوا كل ساعة يجوا ومش خايفين وأنا كل يوم هون أنا بكين 150 راس غنم خليت هذول شوي ما بيسوين لي إنتاج بس المهم أنا أجي يعني.
And sure enough, the soldiers arrive. At the same time, a Palestinian cameraman from the village appears, each with their own weapons.
תלכו, תתרחקו טיפה, תחסכו את הריביתן, וזהו.
אין כלום למעלה.
אין מה לראות, אין קש, אין כלום, הכל שרוף. אם אני יורד למטה, גם אין.
10 מטר, צמדו לטרסה, 10 מטר.
يلا تعال نروح غاد 10 متر يلا.
ما فيش شيء غاد محروقة.
روح يا ابو مرسي وقف هناك روح. نحن لو
But houses are also under attack in Burin, one in particular, Hannah's house. It's an isolated building very close to the radical settlement of Yitzhar. Hannah, a Palestinian widow, and her children live there. Hannah's husband died of a heart attack after their house was set on fire. Hannah has kept the evidence of some of the attacks. The Israeli army has judged the radical settlers of Yitzhar to be sufficiently dangerous to warrant pushing them back.
You live here in the middle of danger and hostility. Are you sometimes tempted to leave your house?
لا ما اتركش البيت هذا لو بموت فيه بتركوش بضلني صامد.
Yitzhar is the only West Bank settlement in which Israeli police have arrested 2 rabbis for incitement of racial hatred. In 2012, some Yitzhar settlers opened fire on Palestinians from a neighboring village. A crew from the pacifist Beit Salem organization captured the scene. The crew tried to meet settlers in Yitzhar and neighboring Givat Arusa, but no one would speak to them. They had more luck at the settlement of Bracha. It's a religious settlement, but not a fanatical one. Their spokesperson, Jonathan Behar, came to meet them.
We were commanded to come to this mountain and to the adjacent mountain.
He's originally from Brooklyn and not overly concerned with what's happening in the valley. He moved up here to be closer to heaven.
We want the entire world to be at peace. We want the entire world to be happy. We want the entire world to know that there is one God in this world, and that's our job. That's what we're here for.
And of course, that includes the people who live in Naples. And
that includes the Arabs, includes the Christians, includes you name it, the Chinese, from all over the world. That's our goal.
You see on the internet all those pictures of conflict and sometimes settlers, of people looking like settlers, burning trees, destroying trees. So I was wondering, what is the logic behind? I'm sure there is some kind of logic.
Look, if there is logic, I don't know what it is. I really don't, because it doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever. It just gets us bad media, and it makes us look very bad. And we're totally against it. Nobody here in my community that I know of does anything like that. It's interesting. The police, the army, nobody's able to catch anybody. Nobody, all the leftist organizations who are always claiming that we're destroying their trees, but nobody's been caught. It sounds a little strange to me.
But liberal voices like Jonathan Behar are not often heard. Religious settlers were once a minority in Israel, but now they're in government. They hold 3 major ministries. The Minister for Housing is a settler himself. Even if he hasn't yet managed to impose his views, he certainly makes no secret of them.
רק אומרים, אולי גם תתחלקו עם אחרים. ואני אומר שממערב לירדן יש מקום רק למדינה אחת, מדינת ישראל. לדעתי, אנחנו אחרי האפשרות לחלק את האזור הזה. יחד עם זאת, אני מאמין שאפשר להגיע בעתיד הלא קרוב להסכמים שיביאו להרגעת האזור.
Si j'ai bien compris, vous proposez d'annexer les territoires palestiniens et de tout transformer en Israël.
גם אחרי זה, חברון היא שלנו, ירושלים היא שלנו, ענתות שלנו. הכל שלנו, זה כתוב לפני 3,000 שנה.
The crew returned to Hebron, where it came across a scene that could soon become increasingly familiar. In the heart of the old Arab city, in theory under Palestinian control, was an Israeli army roadblock. Isa was there.
Hi, how are you? I'm good. It's better to take it away because stones may come here now. Okay.
Israeli soldiers had left the Jewish zone and taken control of the Arab market. Because of a Jewish festival, they'd made dozens of Palestinian stall owners shut up shop and kept the crowd at a distance.
They announced 2 days ago that this road is closed by military order to let the settlers visit one of the tombs inside the Palestinian-controlled area.
The Jewish tomb is underneath this Palestinian house, 300 meters away from the Israeli settlements of Hebron.
For your safety, on that side.
Their spokesman was on the other side of the checkpoint, in the settlement zone. The Arabs clearly don't have control over their own city.
All the city must be under full Israeli control, without any Palestinian Authority or anything like that. Now it will be open for all, it will be secure, it will be open, it will flourish.
You're just asking for Hebron to become Israel.
Yes, and I'll tell you something. I'm sure most of the Arabs in Hebron, if you ask them quietly, they will be happy about it. Most of the Arabs, and I speak to them, and I know what I say, most of them.
Until 1 p.m., Israeli soldiers kept the young Palestinians at bay with sound grenades. Two hours later, the operation was over. The settlers returned to their zone. A few stone throwers were arrested. For the Israeli army, everything went well. As they went back to their zone, two Israeli soldiers made defiant gestures to the Palestinians. But the calm was short-lived. No sooner had the soldiers reached the other side of the checkpoint than all the Palestinian anger and frustration boiled over. The Israeli soldiers would have to reoccupy the Palestinian zone. They pushed the protesters back with plastic bullets and sound grenades. The Israelis fired just one round of live bullets, greeted by strange cries of joy among the young Palestinians.
Pushing them to do it without using their minds because they feel so helpless and weak. This is dangerous area to Palestinians, but they don't care because they are using their feelings.
The riots lasted for 4 days. Several Palestinians were injured. But an Israeli soldier was killed by an invisible sniper. Former head of the Israeli Secret Service, Yuval Diskin, declared, "The immense frustration of the Palestinians is escalating as they realize that their land is being stolen from them, and that the possibility of a Palestinian state is growing more distant. All conditions are there for an explosion of violence."